Hey everyone. So I want to do the next part in my series of the Perfectly Imperfect journal. This cover is a little, I just wiped it down with a damp cloth to try and get some of the white off, but it did not seem to work too well. So I think I'm going to go over this with some glue just to kind of seal it in a little bit. But first, clean off my dried glue snots. Shake this up a little because I do water my glue down. My Elmer's glue all. And I'm going to open this up, and along the cracks where the cover folds, I'm just going to rub some glue in there because I want it to still stay together, and the paper has cracked due to the frailty of old paper. Okay, let's just try and smooth it out on here a bit. And go down this side. Okay. And smooth it out best you can. And make sure you have a rag to wipe your finger off on, unlike me, who apparently, nope, it's buried. It's buried. I got piles of stuff around here, it's making me nuts. So, wipe that off. Okay. So, I am going to, let's do something on the cover here. What can I do? What can I do? Sip coffee while we think. Come on, pick up your coffee. Pick up your coffee. Drink it. What can we do? I can just go over it with the Elmer's glue. It dries matte. My fancy paintbrush that I like to use is in the kitchen. So I'm just going to do this and close my glue and just go over it with this because I did get a little bit of peely uppiness. That is a phrase in case you're wondering. And I got that from trying to clean the white off of here. I thought that if I used a damp cloth it would help, and it did to some extent, but not to the extent I was hoping. So this might just have a white cloudiness to it, and that might just be all there is, and it just adds to the imperfection, especially since on this one it's not big white globs, Alright, so I'm going to just go over this just to seal in the little spots where it got wet, right up here. Okay. And we're going to put this aside. Now, one of your favorite stamping tools when you are making writing journals is this. Ta-da! I spent way too long last night peeling all the little pieces off of this, and I didn't get them all. But I did seal them in with Mod Podge. This is probably the only time in my life that you will hear me say that gloss Mod Podge is okay to use on this. You can use anything you have, if it's just glue or if it's matte Mod Podge. I had gloss, so I put it on. I put a coat on here. You should usually put a couple of coats on, but I really globbed it on and I didn't have any time, so I just did that. Excuse me, for some reason I'm sneezy today. So this is the only time you're going to hear me say gloss Mod Podge works okay for this. Let me turn off my autofocus. I thought it was off. Okay. So this is a good stamping tool because it makes these nice lines. on your paper. Here are my signatures. They are loose. And I also have these pretty cards. She wants it to be pretty simple, so I'm going to just put one of each of these in there. I printed out a sheet of 4 of them. I got them for free online, so they are readily available all over the interwebs for your printing needs. I think these came from the Graphics Fairy in particular. And I'm going to go ahead and glue these in a few random corners so that I can just give her little tuck spots, a few of them. She said she wanted plain and simple, but as a journaler, you know how exciting those tuck spots are, so I'd like to share the wealth. So I'll stick that there. For these, I use Aleene's. You can also sew them in. I'm not quite tooled up to do that, so I don't. Push that down good. Okay. We'll go to the next signature. We'll glue it down on this corner. Apparently I was going to glue that backwards, so we'll stick it over here. And we'll put another one in here. How about on this page? This time I will glue it right. See, but even at that, you know, I screwed up which side I wanted to glue on. You can, if you're hell-bent on one place, you can absolutely wipe it off with a cloth or a baby wipe and move the glue. It's not like, you know, the glue is permanently going to destroy your soul. But you don't have to necessarily do that. Okay, so I got this. Good.
That wasn't a real fight. That was just a
Quiet, Lil. I'm making a video, okay? And we'll put the bird here. And just to make sure we're on gluing again. Okay. So we will do that. And they will dry, you know, the Aleene's are pretty fast, so they'll dry while we're doing our other stuff. Coffee time. Put my 2 other signatures aside for a minute, and I'll grab this one. Okay. So one of the things that I grabbed 2 color inks that I'm going to use brown and black. This is Colorbox Chestnut Roan. I don't know what that means, but I'll use that, and I will also use the black. I have used acrylic paint for these, which also works. It does take a little bit longer to dry. Let me just make sure. I do have a few of these that the pads are a little, you know, fally outy. Yes, that is a phrase. God, all you people judging me on my words. I can hear you over there. That is not a word, Malia. That is not a word. You know what? It is. And this just happens to fit this perfectly. So let's push that down. Okay. Voila. It's faint on your side. And it is pretty faint. But it is not all is not gone. See? I like the way that looks. I like the faint lines that it gives. I will do the back of this in black too. You know, this ink pad might be getting to at the end of its life. I got this in like a bag of random stamps and ink pads and broken punches from Goodwill a while back, so there's no telling. I'm going to do this one upside down. And you know what the great part about this, doing this upside down, is that they're lines, so they're not upside down. Oh my god, can you believe it? Okay. So we have lines on that side too. See, look at that. Look at how nice that comes out. And I'll do brown on the coffee stained, my tea stain pages. Ooh, the brown will come out nice. That is dark. Okay. And you don't have to go over the whole thing either. I am going over a lot of it just because this cardboard isn't very flat. It's kind of curved. So it might not show all of it up, you know, it might, due to the curvature, that it might leave blank spots like it did this whole blank line right there because of the curve. But the brown came out nice. And it came through on the other side there. Let's see if it has any excess to put on this blue. And it did. That looks good. I think I got more to do this side with. And I did, and maybe I'll even have more for this dark one. I don't know, because it's very dark, but we are going to give it a try. Yeah, a little bit. I'm gonna have to do it again here. We'll go with the black again. And the good thing about this cardboard is, first of all, when you seal it with a little bit of Mod Podge, you can use it many times. You're gonna want to seal it anyway, because the cardboard will absorb all of your ink, okay, and then you're not gonna, you end up just using a lot more ink than you have to. So if you seal it with something, the ink obviously will sit on top of whatever you seal it with. You can also spray seal them too. I've done that. I've put glue on it just to get rid of the little flyaway pieces that are left on the corrugation, and then I've gone and sprayed them with something. And then that lasts a long time. Believe it or not, that lasts on there for a long time. You can wipe it with a baby wipe if you want. I don't care. Like, I have some brown showing through this little bit of black, and that's fine with me. I don't really care much about that. Okay. Let me see if I don't know if I'm going to have quite enough. But we are going to try. We are going to try. It is so gloomy here today. Oh my god. And it's raw out. Oh, like I feel like I live in Europe. I live in England. I saw somebody post the other day that we have had more rain here in North Carolina than the Pacific Northwest. So there, I live in Seattle now, you know. And your corrugation that you get does not have to be perfect either. I like the spaces between it. Some people get like perfect corrugated cardboard. Not like they do it on purpose. It just happens to be the box that they are using. And they leave space in there. You know, they only ink or paint certain space. I don't do that. I just, whatever comes out, comes out. You know, like that line there looks cool. And try, and you don't have to line it up perfect. This is junky. This is not going into a museum, okay? Somebody is going to use this. And honestly, I like that idea more. I would rather somebody use what I make instead of just sit there and look at it. That's just me. That's just how I roll. Cover up my black. But the good thing about that thing of stamps and ink that I got from Goodwill that time is that there was a lot of black ink. I don't know, like they were from cheap little sets. You know, you get those little cheap little kids stamp sets, which is fine with me. They're small black ink pads. And I've been through like 3 or 4 of them. So I haven't had to buy black ink until recently. I bought, and I didn't have to buy it, but I bought an ink pad at Archival, the Archival brand, because it was on sale. So I bought a set of the small ink pads, which are just awesome. See, and I like that this bled through on the other side. I don't even have to worry about doing that side. Some people might not like bleed through, and when I'm stamping certain things, I don't either, but when I'm doing these lines, bleed through is my friend. See, bled through on that side. Okay, that's done. I could do this brown stuff, right? We could just go over this real quick. Okay. Okay. Wow, it did not bleed through on this stuff. Who would have thought? Okay, that's good, honey. Alright, that's probably going to be my last use of this. Yep. This signature is stamped nicely. Okay. So, that is all set. Put this aside. On to the next one. So, my cover is drying. Bubbly. Oh no. Let's try hitting it with some heat. Maybe it'll take the bubble out. This is just my luck, right? One of the covers that I actually like. Ooh, hold on. I'm just trying to plug this in. And apparently you have to be some kind of bodybuilder to get things into that outlet, into that power strip. Well, let's turn my heat up a bit here. Try and flatten this back out. Alright, so it's not 100%, but I'll bet you it's about 90% flattened out. So I just wanted to hit that with heat before I went any further. So that should be, I think that'll be all set there for that. Next, we are going to stamp lines on these pages. Okay, so I love using this packing paper. It is like so amazing to use for journal pages. I love writing on it. I love the way it feels when you write on it. I don't know why. Okay. Open this up a little. And slap that down. Open this up. Slap this down. And it went through on both sides of that because the stamp was full. Okay. So I'm not going to put any on this pocket because because I have the little, that page has a little pocket. Sorry, completely got stuck on all my words there. Stamp on this page. Very nice. Stamp on blue. Very nice. Didn't go through, so we'll throw it on this side, and then that'll probably be it. I'll have to re-ink. There we go. Get some black on there for these next pages. Okay. Now, because I'm trying to keep the cost down on these, I'm not going to do it. But some ideas to give you for your pages if you don't like a design, if it's one of your not so nice tea-dyed pages and it looks kind of you know, take your distress inks and do them through a stencil. That always looks really nice on these pages, you know. So that is definitely something that you can do. I always like the way the distress ink stenciled looks on, you know, just as like a design across in a corner or where you don't really like it. It just adds a soft little design and a soft little texture. And then you can still put lines over, you know, over that. It'll still look nice as long as the lines are in a different color than the distress ink that you use, right? But you can still do that and it'll still look just fine. So that's an idea. Stickers are great ways if you have a page that you don't like too much. You know, you can absolutely put some stickers down, put a tuck slot there, put a journaling card there, you know. I'm just not going all out because first of all, the ones that I'm making that were requested, well, I was told to keep them simple, and that's fine with me. You know, these aren't going to be filled with bells and whistles, and that's perfectly all right with me. That's what she wants. You know, I'm not too big on a lot of bells and whistles in the journals I write in either. So I don't mind making one a little more plain Jane. But I'm also keeping them a little simpler because, like I've said previously, this is not something people in this area have seen much of. So if they saw something that's full of stuff, it might be a little overwhelming to them. You know, it might seem like a little bit much and they wouldn't know what to do with it. But writing, they can understand writing in a journal, you know, or using something to add pictures to. You know, that's understandable to them. I lost a page out of this signature that I'm going to stick right here in the middle. Alright, second signature is a stamped sip coffee. Next, the last signature, we'll just whip through this real quick. like the way this color box goes on these. Goes on this corrugated stuff. One. See, it doesn't come through this heavier paper that I have. I was given like 3 or 4 reams of this Astro Brights, and it was like in the neon. For whatever reason, this dark blue was in there, but I also have, you know, it's where this yellow over here came from, and a lot of bright colors, but I did a lot of that stuff in the journals I made for kids. So kids like bright colors, right? Kids like neon. So works out nicely for children. But that's the only thing I can think to use it for, because it is like bright. Unless you want some kind of, you know, 1980s themed bowling alley or, you know, laser tag themed journal. Maybe. Okay. I like it even when it starts to look faint. I like the faintness of the lines. I'm getting a lot out of this. I really loaded it on there that time. But I think that's it. Black. This black doesn't have much to it. So that's why I guess it works good for something like this. Oh, see? This is one of the ones that the pad doesn't stay on. It has officially come unglued. So take my handy dandy sock, wipe off my handy dandy black ink off my fingers. Another thing you can do too, it is very time consuming if you don't have ink colors that you want. Regular markers, like Crayola markers or any marker like that, those are considered watercolor markers. You can use those as ink. So you color it onto whatever you're using, and then you blow on it, you know, with your breath. The steam of your breath will dampen it again. And you can use it as ink on a stamp or on this. So if you're looking, I've done it before where I've taken markers and I've colored it on this to create like rainbow lines. And it came out pretty cool, but it's time consuming to color, and then you have to, you know, make sure that you steam it with your breath good so that it'll stamp on there and it won't dry, you know. But for other stamps, that's also an idea. It's also an idea to do. Alright, so throw that on there. That's probably going to bleed through. Yep. Put it on this. Over here. Over here. Oh, that bled through a little bit. I'll keep that. That did leave a little bleed through. Do that. Open it up. Do that. Put it on there. Look, it even lined up with the little edges that I got on there from before. Huh. And on here. Almost done. I think I'm just going to add a little bit more ink. Just a little thin. I don't know if you can add thin, but I'm just going to go like that. So that I can get through these last couple of pages. Okay, do this. Do this. Do this. And last but not least. Okay, so that's that. And like I said, you can wipe this off with a baby wipe. I just leave it. Whatever. Colors can transfer. Just adds excitement, right? The element of surprise. Now sip coffee. Okay, put my inks away. I'm going to be all set with those. I took this lace out. I have enough here to do maybe a few pages, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to take like this page here, right? I'm going to measure from here to about there, right? Grab my scissors and cut that right there. Okay. Now, you don't have to add lace to your edges, and I don't. A lot of times I don't. But because these aren't going to have a lot in them in the way of journaling stuffs, I thought that I would at least make it a little pretty on some of the page edges. And you don't have to add it to every page, and you don't have to, you know, have a heart attack about going out and buying lace. You know, you don't need to do this. You don't need the lace. But if you have some in your stash or some ribbon, I do see a lot of people putting washi tape along the edges of their pages. I don't do that. I think it's beautiful, but I don't do that because in my brain, I feel like that's a waste of washi tape. As beautiful as I think it is, it's just not something that works for my projects. I've tried, I've wished it worked, but for me, I feel like it's wasteful. So, I can do this, and we'll throw another piece on here. Okay. This is something too you can sew. Like I said, I'm not set up to sew right now. And when I need to get something done, I don't usually have time to whip out the sewing machine. And that's the hard part about when you have a smaller space, you gotta kind of work with what you can, you know. So, adds a nice little added something on the edges. Okay, next I will go in here and throw some on this page. I do like to use the same lace. It's hard because a lot of times I only have like scraps of pieces, but when I get a longer piece of the same thing, I'll put it aside so that I know what I can use, you know. Okay.
No, this is a cookie. Yes. That in there.
Alrighty. And the Aleene's works just fine holding that down. You don't have to buy Fabri-Tac for the lace. Aleene's, you can use Aleene's. Some people say that they only use Fabri-Tac, and that's fine, you know, but if you can save yourself the money. I've never had trouble with using Aleene's on anything that other people have used Fabri-Tac for. And I've heard also people talk about Elmer's glue wall too. The school glue, from what I gather, and which makes sense, does not work as well because it is very watered down. So, just a tip of advice there. Not very watered down, but watered down enough that certain things don't stick and some things bubble, like fabrics on top of pages or on covers might bubble. So it's something to keep in mind when doing this. Look at that. I'm going to have enough to do 2 pages in each signature. I just thought I'd wing it and just see how it goes, but it looks like I'll have enough. Okay. And I'll have a little bit left over. Yippity-doo-dah. Okay. One thing that I do, though, when I put on lace on my edges is I have it all on the same page. Like, I've never put it on the back side of a page. I don't know why. I just always put it on the front side. But sewing this adds a beautiful little touch if you do sew. Sewing these lace pieces on really adds to it. Just a tip of advice. That looks horrible because that's all like ratted right there. I don't know what happened. That might be, oof, sorry, that might be better on like a cluster. So we'll work on this side. Alright, so there's that lace. Okay. I just want to make sure that I cut the right spot there. Alright, that looks good like that. And then I fold it over and give it another little press down because it, you know, the paper bubble, you know, from being tea dyed and put in the oven, it's a little wavy, so I just want to make sure it's stuck down everywhere that it is supposed to be stuck down. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off the little bit of glue that I have on my hands with a baby wipe, and the reason for that is because we are going to do the cover repair that we started at the beginning of the video. Okay, so wipe your hands off nicely, like so. Oh, I might as well keep that out because I'm sure I'm going to have glue on my hands at some other point today. Now, like I had said at the beginning, this, the paper broke, as you can see, a perfect line going down where it folds, which is fine. It's old paper, it's to be expected. So I took this piece of lace out of my stash to put on here. One thing that a lot of people do too is they put fabric pieces on their covers. If you have only small lace, you can just put small pieces down the folds and then even take a little piece of fabric and make bands. You know, that would look nice. In my case, I tend to go with a wide enough piece of lace for the spine. So I am going to stick this down. I'm going to cut this at the bottom here. Okay. Don't need that. And I'm going to take my pencil. I cut this a little crooked, but that's okay. And I'm just going to make a mark right here to show me how far over the lace goes, because, well, actually, I guess that doesn't really matter. I might as well just put glue down here. So I'm going to take my Aleene's and I'm going to put it on moderately.
You're going to put it in water?
No, I'm putting the glue on moderately.
Oh, glue. Yeah, because glue is so watery. That's because it's made out of water.
Take your finger. See, I told you I was going to end up with glue on my fingers before it was over.
Yeah, and glue it looks like
Okay.
that.
Wipe their finger off and hurry up and do this before your glue dries. Line it up as best as you can. I don't want to cover up my cover page here. And push it down. Okay. I like how that looks. Just like that. I'm going to trim it, obviously, at the top and the bottom. It's going to need a little bit of trimming, but that will definitely hold. And that gets rid of the ugly line right there where the paper broke, right? And my cover doesn't look perfect, but it also covers up this little bit of white that was left from that spray residue, so that also, it works in that respect, right? And the back cover, and then I don't glue the whole thing because, you know, I almost feel like, oh, you know, it's a little interactive and you can flute. I don't know what I think, okay? So just don't even. So that's that. I do have little pieces of stationery right handy to put in my pockets, okay? I'll grab some of those. Maybe I'll find some index cards that I've dyed in white. Or maybe I won't. But it's fine because I have some paper I can use up here that's ripped. Okay.
Where's your looking glass?
So first, I got this stationery at Goodwill the other day. Actually, it was from Salvation Army, who I like much better than Goodwill. So I'm going to put my cover over there to let that lace. Sorry if my big head gets in the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Grab my corner rounder. Stick to the trend of nice roundy corners, like so. Why? I don't think so. So I don't remember. That signature only has one pocket, so that works out nicely there. Okay. One of these has two, the rest of them have one. This one has one. Stick a leaf. I love these that I did with the brown leaf. And I'm going to make a piece here from some paper that I had dyed, and then when I was taking it out, it ripped. Okay.
Because it was really windy.
And I'm just going to tear this. And I'm going to fold it in half. And I like this stamp. I think that one is very pretty. So I'm going to grab my brown. Okay. And go ahead and stamp on there. And because I have this paste left over, right, I can fold this in half, like so. And fold it tight. And just pull it. I do a lot of the end scraps from this project too that I could also use, right? So stamp that there. This can go in one of my pockets. Like that. And I need one more thing for a pocket. Those can go into another journal. Let's grab another piece of this.
I'm gonna go in another journal.
No, honey, I'm going to put those pieces of paper in another journal.
Oh, but it's on the piece of iron.
Let's grab this orange scrap that I have. Okay. And fold this in half. Fold this in half. And why not just stick it like that? What do you think? That should look okay, I would think. So, I'm going to take this and just put a line on either side of my fold so that
Don't. That is super glue. It will stick to you and you'll never get it off.
I can,
There's some things in life you just can't touch.
then it's almost like your little tuck right there too. So I can stick this in her last pocket. If I can find it. Let's see. That one. Where did I put it? Must be in the other signature. I must have missed it. I did. Okay. Tuck that like that. What I'm going to do with most of my scraps, okay, is grab all my signatures and get all of this stuff out of the way here that I don't need on top of my scraps. I have things I still put away, is I'm going to make little tabs for the tops of my pages. That's the only thing I can think of that would be useful, unless I made like Franken paper. But I don't really see the need to do that. So if I just took a few of these, you know, fold it like this, snip, fold it like this, snip, fold it like this. If I went through, right, and just cut up a bunch of these to make little tabs. I can even take little stamps. I got little stamps and stamp on them, right? Let's see. I got a whole bunch of little Tim Holtz stamps too that I could get out. Is that one too big? No. I'm just grabbing what's in front of me. Little swirl. And I took whichever color. We'll start with the swirl. Swirl. Swirl.
What you doing?
A swirl.
Why am I making swirl?
That one didn't show up that well.
I want to make some. I want to stamp too. We want to use stamps.
Not right now, honey. And I'm not going to put all of the same, you know, color paper in here, but just to show you.
I make this little
If you
heart.
take this
Mom, I make this little heart.
and you put it
Mom, this little heart is
on here. Yep. And you grab, I'm going to, okay, honey, go play, okay? Grab a smaller stapler that I have. Okay. It would probably help if I had it facing me, right? Could probably see it a little bit better. Take this and come down here. There you go. Nice little tab on the top of your page. So I could take these and cut up a bunch of paper that I had to do that with. You know, these ones here I don't even need to cut up. They're already designed, right? So these ones here just need a fold. They don't even have to be perfect. Okay. Small one. So those are some ideas what to do with these strips. Make tabs, stamp on them, you know. Take your strips, put them all together and glue them together onto a sheet of paper, right? Make it into scrap, like a Franken paper. Turn them into tags. Do whatever you want, you know. It's fun. This one's going to be a big one. Like so. That piece is all wonky. I'm not going to keep that one. This here, though, I could make this into a journaling spot, right?
I wish I had a tab that has no soap in it.
Look at that.
So I can
For journaling? Yeah? For journaling.
Huh?
Perfect. Those ones are big enough for that. Grab. I have some of my signatures have this pink paper in it, right? Nice fat tabs. I have tab, you know, dies too. I could actually punch them out. I don't know if they'd work on these thin pieces. That one's going to be a big one. So just keep on going, you know, just keep on tab making. Another thing you can do if you don't like the idea of just having a bunch of pages stick out, put a little hole in your tab and put a little piece of eyelash yarn, you know, put a little piece of eyelash yarn sticking out. Why not? Look at this. More pages that I could use as journaling spots. Okay. So don't get discouraged if you run out of ideas. Just take what you have, think about what you own, make the best out of what you have. I'll be sitting here making tabs for all my other journals. And I'll be getting those finished up today, hopefully, over the next few days. Okay. So I hope this video was helpful and you didn't fall asleep and that you found it handy. And I'd love to see what you make, so go ahead and drop a link below. Show me the things that you're working on. And I'll talk to you all later. Ta-ta for now.